we are currently on our way to Northwestern University in Chicago, Illinois, where I will be delivering a speech on God knows what. I am running on fumes right now. 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, a little power nap on the plane too for another hour, maybe a collective total of 4 hours of sleep. This is also coming off the heels of a wall-to-wall, multiple 10-hour streams monitoring the situation that's happening in Iran as the Israeli perverts are bombing Iran. So I'm already very fatigued from all of that. And also, predictably, I have not written a speech. I will be freestyling it. Once again, another 20-minute speech that I will be freestyling. Maybe it'll be a little bit shorter than 20 minutes this time around, potentially, because I don't know if I got 20 minutes in me. But then after the 20-minute speech will be a Q&A with the students. Very excited for that proportion as well. We'll be filming it. We'll be live and alive the entire time. And yeah, that's it.
How's everybody doing tonight? The world is on fire. I've had a very busy week, and because of that, predictably, I failed to write a speech before I got here. When I was first told that I was going to be speaking in Northwestern, I was like, all right, you know what? I did UBC like a couple weeks ago. I went out there, no preparation whatsoever. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm going to fail on that speech, but this time in Northwestern, I'm going to deliver a really nice one that I wrote ahead of time. And then, of course, America and Israel decided to bomb Iran and nuke the global energy market, which caused me to, unfortunately, focus all of my efforts on, doing round-the-clock coverage on that. So, sincere apologies ahead of time, but, you can cook me on the Q&A portion of this entire event in a little bit. But one of the things I've been thinking about quite a bit as of late is the idea of revolutionary optimism at a time when things seem so devastating. People's material conditions are collapsing. Many of you are going to graduate into a horrifying job market. I apologize for reminding you. And the future seems not so bright for many Americans. Many Americans from all different backgrounds and all different ages. I feel like long gone are the days of American prosperity, and the trajectory that we're headed down is complete collapse of the liberal New World Order that was designed in the aftermath of World War II. And fascism is making a big-time comeback, both here in the United States of America and certainly in a lot of Western liberal capitalist democracies. You got the rise of the AfD, you got the Reform Party, which apparently wasn't even racist enough for Elon Musk, so he went and created another one. I think it's like Defend Britain or something. And the right around the globe is taking advantage of the instability, constantly focusing people's angst, their animosity, their anger, as a direct consequence of the diminishing material quality of people's existence, and reorienting that anger back to migrants, trans people, numerous other vulnerable targets that rarely ever get defended, both in mainstream media and in just in general in politics. And unfortunately, there is not a real alternative on the liberal front. Many of the ruling parties all around in both parliamentary democracies and here in the United States of America have fallen short of what is a necessary response to combat the growth of fascism. American imperialism is dominating the planet with the Donroe Doctrine in Latin America and all of the events that are unfolding in Iran right now in the MENA region. It seems like the future is not so great. And in spite of all of that, I do think that this is an opportunity that is very unique. I've gone all around the country. I've been around the world. I go and attend these protests that are taking place everywhere. And one thing that I see from all the people that I talk to, from different backgrounds, people your age, all the way to people who are like 60 years old, 70 years old, there is this real palpable anger. They want change. They don't know how to communicate it effectively because the alternative of socialism has basically been destroyed in many of these Western countries. But I think it is this now more than ever, I truly believe that there is a really unique opportunity to organize and to show people that we do have that power. And I fear that if we don't do that, if we don't seize on this opportunity, come the midterm elections in the United States, and you see this with the Green Party rising in the UK as well. If we don't organize against fascism, I feel like we're going to succumb to fascism. And in spite of everything that's horrible, the unique opportunity for organizing presents itself, and there have been some moments of success. The election of Zoran Mamdani. Does everybody like Zoran Mamdani in here? I had to get a cheap applause break there because the election of Zoran Mamdani and all of the successful initiatives of pushing back against Trump's authoritarian rulership here in the United States of America, from Minneapolis, Minnesota to all around, the pushback that the public, sorry, you want to, yeah, you can give yourself applause here if you want. I don't know, you guys are in Chicago, but I mean, it happened in Chicago too. But the people are rising up. They're pushing back against the government. They're coming to terms with the reality that if no one's coming to save us, we will save us. And there have been some successes in spite of all of the horrible excesses that we have seen. And I urge all of you in this moment to hold on to those glimmers of hope, to those pockets of hope, no matter where they might be, and keep pushing forward, because in the absence of people like yourselves, open-minded people, like-minded people organizing, demonstrating solidarity, protecting people in your communities, we're not going to make it. But that's basically what I'm here to talk to you about today. And on that note, we can get to the Q&A portion of this. Thank you so much.
All right, I wanted to start us off with a lighthearted question. I know you're a Zinner. Do you prefer the Swedish Zins or the American Zins?
Oh, American all the way. American Zins all the way. I've tasted the Swedish ones. I feel like it just doesn't taste as good. I don't know what they put in the American ones. Maybe it's probably the chemicals. I'm a big fan of that. I'm like the anti-RFK Jr., where I love chemicals. Give me more chemicals. Thank you. Go chemicals.
All right, what's up? My name is Zach. Thank you for being here. My question was a little bit more serious. So, at Northwestern, you may or may not know, there's a big Jewish population. I myself have a lot of friends that are Jewish, that have been in Israel, and that's important for them. I was wondering, how would you recommend I approach having conversations with my Jewish friends, or posting on social media, without breaking off the friendship, but also not sugarcoating a genocide, I guess.
Okay. I mean, the states are totally separate from the people, right? I mean, we have a lot of disagreements with the MAGA movement here in America. I mean, they're basically cattle. And yet, you can have reasonable disagreements with your loved ones over, how much they love Donald Trump, no matter how much he keeps fucking shit up. Sorry for cursing. It's similar to Israel as well. It's the same conversation when it comes to Israel. It's a nation state that is entirely dependent on American tax dollars to commit untold amounts of atrocities, and atrocities that range beyond the post-October 7th genocide that Israel has been committing. I mean, this is an apartheid state that is universally considered an apartheid state by 87% of Holocaust scholars and academics, genocide scholars, and virtually every human rights organization. I think regardless of the programming, regardless of the social conditioning, I think you shouldn't give up on your friends and try to have normal conversations with them about how they probably don't care about Israel as much as they think they do. Because if they did, they'd probably live there. Like, that's just the truth. Because the reality is, like, I have friends who used to be Zionists who are anti-Zionist now, and I have a lot of people in my community that used to be Zionists and are no longer Zionists. And one of the things that, at least I've found success in communicating is, like, you think you love this country. It's an important part of your upbringing. It's an incredibly important part of, like, community building amongst young American Jews in general. But the reality of the matter is the state actually incentivizes people. Like, the Israeli state wants people to go and live there, right? That's a big part of what birthright is. And yet many people still choose to live in Beverly Hills and Sherman Oaks and Boca Raton and New York. That's because you're American. You're an American citizen and you love living here. So I don't know. I feel like stressing that aspect of it is probably one of the more successful ways that you can have this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it on, John. I got two questions, one longer one and one short one. Recently, I saw a creator that I like make a pretty harsh but convincing argument about media consumption. She claimed that a lot of political content, I'm thinking, well, including commentary on like movies, shows, and other mass media, being like Avatar or Parasite, function mostly as emotional catharsis rather than producing actual material change. As someone who works partially in that ecosystem, what do you think about the line between political media that mobilizes people versus media that just pacifies them? And what are some concrete ways that folks here can convert media consumption into meaningful political action?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's correct. I think media is just media. If you're enjoying, it's normal to enjoy movies, and it's fine to enjoy movies and listen to music. I mean, I don't really listen to music, but that's my fault and failure. But as far as media being used as a tool for activism, I would say that movies can actually change people's perspectives quite a bit. They can be quite impactful. However, it's just one of the many different parts of this puzzle. Like engaging in broad awareness initiatives through your art is a wonderful thing, but it's not the whole game, right? I feel like systemic change requires people firing off on all cylinders and working every single day tirelessly to make that change. And you can play that role with the art that you're creating. But at the end of the day, it is still for entertainment. But that's still a good thing. I mean, it's a part of experiencing joy, right? I don't know what else to say about it. To claim that it's like creating catharsis, or to claim that it's just like unproductive or making people forcing people to shift away from activism is also incorrect.
One last one. As a Mr. Progressive Mind in a MAGA body, are you willing to silence the haters and show the world that the M Marxist stands for muscle? By that means, pull up to our school gym after this. Fix that. It'll leave you an admin problem. We'll show you how
If I went to the gym after this, I would die, I think.
You just turned a true believer. You just lost one.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I really like how that other kid upped the stakes in the Q&A by joining the Mossad after he didn't like your answering question. So we'll see what I do after this. Just wondering, you have a wide set of political beliefs that you believe in, very ardently. I'm wondering, can you give an overview of what you would say are the philosophical underpinnings of those beliefs, and what those, let's say, first principles are grounded in?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I feel like you're going to join Mossad too after this. Empathy first. That's what it is. I want to improve people's material conditions. I want to live in a society where everyone can prosper. I feel like there is a lot of organic potential that gets lost all around the world, not as a consequence of some kind of like genetic setback or anything like that, but specifically as a consequence of what their spawn point is. And I want to improve that for everybody else by having by building more egalitarian society so we can truly advance. Avoidance of unnecessary conflict and a hope for a more prosperous future. Those are some of my first principles. As far as like my own personal ideology, I guess I'm a leftist because I see no reason to make a distinction between different ideological tendencies on the Marxist side or the anti-capitalist side, especially because most people don't even understand what that is. So my goal is to try to engage in agitation to the best of my ability so that people can go on their own journey and first and foremost recognize class consciousness, their class position.
Hi Hassan, thanks for coming out. This is super exciting. So I want to start with that I ethnically identify as half Iranian, half Pakistani, which is two groups that America has consistently undervalued, devalued the lives of, villainized. So something I've been grappling, and what I want to ask you is, how do you find belonging in a country that seems so intent on despising this what's inextricable about your identity?
It's a great question. So I think America has a lot of unfortunate white supremacist ideology that's baked into its fundamentals. But America also is an incredibly diverse country. It's a nation of immigrants at the end of the day. It's a nation that was built off of settler colonial genocide, indigenous genocide, and chattel slavery. But it also happens to be one of the most, if not the most diverse nation on the planet, entirely comprised of immigrants. So the bad part about it is that, unfortunately, when people identify with this American identity, sometimes they lean into the white nativist side of things. But there are so many people who recognize their immigrant background and all the culture that brings to the table, and therefore, you find a lot of like-minded people from all different parts of the world. And I think the best way to grapple with that is by finding your own people, right? Finding people from different parts of finding people from different cultures that you can identify with and engage in a mutually beneficial relationship with. And at least that's what I've been able to do, and that's what I think is successful.
Hi Hassan, I've been watching you since like 2020, and I feel like there's a good chance that I wouldn't be studying political science right now if it wasn't for you, so thanks for that.
I'm so sorry.
You've said that the left should be better at manufacturing outrage. What does effective outrage look like to you without sliding into the same bad faith tactics that you criticize on the right?
When I say the left should be better at manufacturing outrage, I'm not saying the left should be outrageous. What I'm simply talking about is that the system is outrageous, right? The conditions that we currently live under are outrageous. In the last 7 days, we've spent approximately $20 billion, this is a conservative estimate, destroying the lives of tens of thousands of Iranians at the behest of a foreign nation called Israel that is now completely in the driver's seat of our Middle East and North African foreign policy. $20 billion is quite a bit of money. I mean, a lot of people's student loan debt could be relieved that way. That's healthcare, that's building rural hospitals, that's roads. Like, how can you not be outraged at that, right? So what I try to stress to people is just like, there is this anger that exists. People understand that their situation is not getting better. And they're somewhat rudderless. And I feel like the right takes advantage of that anger and redirects it back to vulnerable populations.
And what we should do as leftists is to redirect to a more productive output to those who actually do control the levers of power, the forces of capital in general. And that's what I mean when I say the left should get better at manufacturing outrage.
Hey Hasan, I'm Rowan Sharma. Thanks for all the talking points I used in high school debate and at Thanksgiving. Thanks. I'm an RA on campus, and this year our Northwestern leadership has dissolved or reorganized departments related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And all parts of my role have been shifted from DEI to community well-being. How can we operate within systems that capitulate to fascism and still make radical change? And should we continue to exist in these institutions or make change from the outside?
That's a great question. I mean, these are hurdles, right? But you just got to push through them, and you have to be stubborn, and there's honestly nothing else that you can do. I don't think that like leaving the institution or organization is helpful. I mean, there are some organizations where the entirety of the output is bad, right? Like if you're like asking me to join the American military or something, I'd be like, don't do that, right? But as far as like your college campus, you just have to be steadfast, and you have to continue pushing no matter what, and that change will come. And it might shock you at you might be shocked with how successful you are at the end of that. Because these guys, I mean, reactionary forces they're a paper tiger. They don't really have the investment. They don't have the social investment. They don't have the masses. It's a fleeting thing. What you have is a defense of your loved ones, a defense of a diverse student body that you want to protect, and that gives you an upper hand in the conversation when you're organizing, and therefore it's impossible for you not to win unless you give up. So what I always tell people is just be stubborn, be steadfast, and keep pushing through it no matter what.
Let's go. So I guess building off that last question, I feel like there are kind of two main obstacles to creating progressive change on a national level. And one is like the lack of class consciousness, cultural inertia, money in politics. But then also, like you said, there's structural obstacles to a third party. The Senate, the Supreme Court, the Electoral College are all kind of set up in ways that limit the ability to create progressive change. So how do you accomplish systemic change within existing power structures that are kind of set up to limit the ability to create change?
It's a great question. So you're absolutely right. There are immense structural hurdles to overcome, but the best way to overcome it is by mobilizing the masses. Whether it be, again, pushing back against the fascist state, deploying its own version of the Gestapo to dominate your neighbors and kidnap them. The only way to overcome great odds is by organizing. We don't have the systems in place right now. We have a labor movement that is somewhat corporate captured and is a vestige of the Democratic Party for the most part. And instead of actually pressuring the Democratic Party, it more so just operates as a electoral vehicle for the Democratic Party, and it's even failing at achieving that goal too. But that is where we have the power. Disrupting the forces of capital is, at the end of the day, exactly where we have all the power. Work stoppages, making demands be known, and harming capital interests. That is how we win. So that's why I focus a lot of my initiatives on the labor movement in general.
Hi Hasan, I'm a big fan of every outfit you wore in the mid to late 2010s. My question is about candidate evaluation, I guess, and like I'm specifically contextualizing this with Tom Steyer and these sort of like progressive populist candidates who kind of come from like unorthodox places. When I think about Steyer and like him being a billionaire but having a platform that would like materially benefit the people of California, how do we as progressives balance the sort of ethical implications of welcoming a billionaire into the camp and supporting his candidacy with the immediate material concerns that could be alleviated by some of his policies? And where do we kind of draw that line for what we're willing to tolerate from these candidates, from your perspective?
Yeah, so two things. One, you have a billionaire governor in the state, right? And he's actually somewhat beloved from what I understand. I mean, he's fine. He's a billionaire at the end of the day. You gotta keep him at arm's distance, but he has done all right as far as judging his performance with the rest of the governors around this country. The other thing I'll say is that every establishment Democrat and every Republican is also a servant of capital. They are also servants of billionaires. You're almost cutting out the middleman in some respects. If you have a direct, is he going to accelerate late-stage capitalism? I mean, he already won. He's already doing that, right? Like he can get that with Eric Swalwell, for example. So I don't see a serious material difference between a run-of-the-mill Democrat versus someone like that. Having said that, I think Tom Steyer has some unique ideas that shouldn't really be unique, and ideas that people like Bernie Sanders have also advocated for. So you have to just look at their policies and figure out whether they're earnest or not in terms of achieving those policies, figure out if they're serious and sincere, and make that decision no matter what their background is.
Hey Hasan, I'm ND, and you kind of referenced this already about how cooked the job market is. That's due in no small part to artificial intelligence and advances in that space. And with research coming out of Anthropic, it's kind of suggesting that some point in the future, autonomous systems are going to be capable of doing most of, if not all, work. And we're going to be in this period of abundance. But I don't think our current system is prepared for a post-work society. So what does a post-work society look like for you?
I think it was Stavros Halkias who said like the robots are supposed to be doing the menial labor and we're supposed to be doing the art, but somewhere along the way the robots started doing the art and we're still doing the menial labor. That's not because technological innovation is bad. Technological innovation is good, right? It's just that technological innovation under capitalism is one that displaces the existing labor force and creates downward pressure on wages and benefits and is horrible for the masses in general. So work society will look like, I mean, I've seen it in movies, right? Like the Star Trek universe comes to mind, but that's not the society that we live in currently. So we just have to, I keep repeating myself over and over again, but we just have to keep organizing for that future to make sure that that instead of having masses turn into biofuel for the capital-owning class, if you have a new tool that makes you a more productive laborer, that means if 5 people can now do the job of 10, that means 5 people are getting fired. But this new radical vision of how the economy should be organized is where 10 people actually just work half the time. And I think we can ask for that. I think we should ask for that. And the only way to make that demand is by creating the necessary systems, labor unions and the like, to make sure that we reconstruct the way workplaces operate in this country.
Hi, Hasan. Sorry, that was loud. But hi, Hasan. My name's Xander. I'm a first year here at Northwestern, and you are absolutely right. The world is on fire. IQ levels are decreasing. AI is becoming more powerful. And I am overwhelmed. I'm a pre-med student. I don't have all the time in the world to really, I guess, like tackle all these issues at once. And I really, really, really want to. And I keep hearing that we have to organize, and I know we have to organize. I know that it's like, we're the young generation. It's in our power to actually make the change that we want to see in the world. But my biggest question to you is how? What is one real tangible way that we, as a Northwestern community, can begin to organize? This is honestly an open question to everyone. I'm willing to talk about it with people like after this. But I think it's so important that we actually begin to start having conversations, and more than just conversations, start meeting and actually start organizing. But I'm just unsure of where to start. Sorry, I do have two questions.
I mean, YDSA is a pretty good starting point, I would say. Democratic Socialists of America is a pretty good starting point. I mean, there's a lot of, you can organize around like mutual interests as well, and go from there. But as far as political organizing, I would recommend the DSA, joining your local campus DSA organization. I hope that was good enough. I don't know. I feel like you're a little disappointed. Arm the masses. Now, let's do it. We got red armbands at the door.
Front lines with me?
What's up?
Let's see you on the front lines with me?
Yeah, well, I'll be there.
Okay, and the second question to you is, one of the only things that we can keep doing, I guess, is like just people in the world. It's overwhelming. You can only keep living in. I gotta say, you really haven't lived until you tried Lisa's burrito soup. Hey, come and get Lisa with us afterwards.
Okay, all right, I will try it.
You will try?
Yeah.
Was he there?
Why are people booing? Everyone's booing. What's happening?
All right, thank you.
I'll make Mauricio try it.
I actually met you 2 summers ago at the DNC protest. So I have one quick question and one slightly medium question. The quick question is, what was your favorite food you had in China?
Ooh. What was it? We had this like, is it don noodles that we had that was like, you made it yourself and you put it together yourself, you constructed it yourself. That was probably my favorite.
Okay, great. And then I don't know, weird, but not you, me. The second question is, with the opposition to this war, we've seen a lot of people take like a procedural opposition to it. From one, Democratic politicians, which I think are being malicious in that they're doing it on purpose, but then there's also liberal people who are just like people who are just believing it because they've been conditioned to think that way. How do we get people to stop thinking in terms of, like, if Congress approved it and it was through the right process, that it would be okay for some reason to do a imperialist, illegal, evil war? How do you convince people that that's not the way you should be looking at it? You should be looking at it as wrong because of what it's doing.
Great question. So I think we got to give people more credit. I think that like people have broad opposition towards war in general, but when that's the only acceptable lane of opposing war, that's what they lean into. As far as the party goes, of course, I mean, a lot of these people are charlatans. There's a rotating villain structure within the Democratic Party that specifically always finds just enough votes to not pass like the War Powers Resolution. So even if their opposition is on the procedural front, they still find a way within the caucuses to ensure that even that bare minimum procedure doesn't pass through. And that's where agitating and that's where organizing actually comes into play. Go to town halls and call your congressperson. Go to town halls. It will shock you how successful that stuff is. Once again, these guys don't really talk to normal people at all. They have lobbyists on speed dial that go to all these events they go to, closed door events, where they're fundraising. So that's who they end up talking to. But if they actually have to address their constituents, they find out that no, their constituents are actually very pissed off about this, and the lobbyists were lying to them. Not to say that all the congresspersons are hapless, but plenty of them actually are.
And you have to make sure that you are unavoidable. You have to become an unavoidable force. And you have to let your anger and discontent be known. But yeah, as far as like regular folks goes, I think most people do have an opposition to war on moral grounds. But one successful method for at least like Americans who tend to be on the selfish side is to talk to them about the dollar value. If they don't care about the humanity of the people whose lives are being destroyed, talk about the fact that, you know, they always tell you, isn't it weird that they always tell you we don't have enough money for healthcare? But then Donald Trump is just like light $100 billion on fire and destroy the global economy for you know, no real discernible reason other than following along, you know, Israel's destruction agenda. It's ridiculous. And I think that's a fairly successful way of convincing Americans who are maybe a little bit on the selfish side.
Great, thank you.
Well, there's lots of great individual leaders in the Democratic Party. That's why you're here. I'm worried that just the party's brand at large has been so thoroughly just ruined by right-wing people, but also their own terrible decisions, that the party will always be stuck as a permanent opposition. Besides a total hostile takeover like what Trump did to the Republicans, do you think that the Democrat brand will ever be able to recover?
No, I don't think so. I genuinely don't think the Democratic Party brand will ever recover, but like I said, there's an opportunity there because they're so weak. In 2016, after Bernie's defeat, there were a wave of a lot of progressive candidates who also self-identified as Democratic Socialists. They ran and won. That's where the squad was formed, right? Some of our best politicians came from that group. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley has also been, outperforming my expectations, certainly. And but back then, the Democrats actually had a resistance front, I guess. They were able to take advantage of the growing anger and discontent and then move organizing in a very liberal direction, where it was just an opposition to Donald Trump and not necessarily an opposition to the systems that created Donald Trump. This time around, they've completely given up. And that's why I always stress, people are very angry. Lifelong Democrats are very angry. And I think that's part of the reason why they are starting to identify as socialists or democratic socialists. They're exploring alternatives that they never thought they would. And if the Democratic Party's brand is failing, we should continue using the election vehicle that exists already within the Democratic Party. An example I can use is Zoran. If Zoran ran as an independent in New York as a DSA candidate, he probably wouldn't have gotten the Working Families Party endorsement, and he probably wouldn't be mayor right now. So there is still opportunity to work within the confines of the Democratic Party, but if they are so resistant to making the necessary changes, then we'll build it ourselves. But as far as salvaging the reputation of the Democrats, that's not what I'm invested in. If they're going to be hostile to salvaging the reputation of the Democratic Party, if they're not going to be a vehicle for change, if they're not going to be an agent for change, then we'll have to design it ourselves.
Do you think the only option then would be a third party? So long-term
you want to say to the mic so people can hear you?
I'm supposed to have the mic back, but this works. Do you think the only way then to kind of have long-term political power would be a third party?
Possibly, yeah. It's entirely dependent on where things go, right? If tomorrow, all of a sudden, there was an overwhelming coalition of socialists within the ranks of the Democratic Party, and then a lot of these other candidates were like, well, I want to cover my bases, I want to make sure that I'm not replaced, I would still want to serve my constituents, I think a lot of other people would follow along. But that's the less likely scenario if we're being real, because as we've seen with the likes of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, the National Party is not even remotely interested in doing the bare minimum pushback against Trump, and it's actually leading to their own demise. So I'm very pragmatic when it comes to this sort of stuff. If the Democrats will completely retool the party and become a socialist party, great. Do I believe that that'll happen? Probably not. And if that doesn't happen, and there is enough momentum for a robust alternative, a successful alternative, then I believe that there will be a point in time when that separation will take place.
Hi, Hasan. First of all, I wanted to thank you for buying your new soundboard recently. Of course, it only has one sound. It has changed my life. Anyway, my question is the following. Online political spaces often reward the most confident or extreme takes. How do you try to maintain intellectual honesty in an environment where saying, "I don't know," doesn't always perform well?
It's a great question. I say I don't know all the time. So I don't know why I've been able to achieve success, regardless of like being very open about the limits to my knowledge. As a matter of fact, I have crippling self-doubt all the time. And I do feel like some people take advantage of that, like oppositional figures take advantage of that to present me as someone who is not very knowledgeable and present themselves as like confident orators who are very skillful, who are very knowledgeable on issues that they don't know anything about. Having said that, I think honesty is the best policy, and you should stay true to yourself. And if there's an issue that you're oblivious on, you just go do the reading and figure it out, and be open with people, be honest with people.
Hi Hasan, I've been watching you for a long time, so it's crazy that you're here. As someone who's not in legacy media, sometimes gets featured on Sky News Australia, like how do you feel like people are getting, with the introduction of like podcast spaces, Twitch streamers, and YouTubers, how do you feel like that space is changing and influencing people like us, and how do you see it changing in the future?
Yeah, it's both good and bad. The good is what we saw with the pressure campaign and the awareness shift away from unconditional support to Israel to recognizing the plight of the Palestinians. That was a good thing, and that would not have happened without independent media. Mainstream media has been very pliant to the interests of the State Department, which unfortunately align with Israel's goals of death and destruction. The bad is there's a lot of bad faith actors out there, there's a lot of grifters out there, there's a lot of people who are taking advantage of the lack of interest from the market in being honest. And this has created an environment where there is basically no consensus reality. It's very destabilizing. So I don't know what the actual solution to this problem is. I just feel like you just have to engage in media literacy to the best of your ability, and to make sure that you have a healthy media diet of a diverse array of opinions, and you're still taking advantage of the readily available mainstream resources as well. I try to stress the importance of that in my commentary every day. I don't necessarily just across the board shit on mainstream media and say don't listen to the New York Times ever, but I try to hold your hand through the process of reading the news, of understanding the news, while also showcasing the biases that these supposedly independent outlets actually have. But they are still very relevant. They still have journalists, they have massive teams, even though they're getting smaller and smaller, like with what the Washington Post turned into under the leadership of Jeff Bezos, the ownership of Jeff Bezos. But as long as they still exist, you just gotta, take advantage of it to broaden your understanding of the world.
Hello. So during the last New York City mayoral election, you criticized Democrats like Chuck Schumer for withholding their support for Zoran Mamdani. Yet during the 2024 election, you were extremely hesitant and qualified in your support of Kamala Harris, and constantly tell people to not vote for what is the only anti-Trump American party. So my question is, do you regret not enthusiastically endorsing Kamala Harris, given you exercised tremendous sway amongst American leftists? obviously. Put more broadly, do you think you could better leverage your platform to help anti-Trump candidates win elections, even when those candidates' platforms don't necessarily align with your views? Do you think the Democrats need to become a full-fledged socialist party?
Well, I work with a lot of candidates who aren't full-fledged socialists. I mean, I literally just had a billionaire on, and he very clearly is not a socialist, as he communicated to me over and over again. But I work. The majority of the candidates I work with, as a matter of fact, are not socialists at all. I mean, Abdullah Syed in Michigan, he's not a socialist. Love him. I think he's great. Because, once again, like I've said over and over again, I'm pragmatic. And one thing I will say, as far as the Chuck Schumer versus me dynamic, is it's very simple. Zoran was a great candidate, and that's why Chuck Schumer should have endorsed him as the leader as one of the leaders of the Democratic Party. I, as a Twitch streamer, don't think that I had the responsibility to endorse Kamala Harris, especially when Kamala Harris herself made no investment whatsoever in trying to secure the votes of people like myself. The other side of that story, of course, is that no matter how much sway I have amongst the leftist masses, which I don't think I have that much sway, and overwhelming majority of my audience ended up voting for Kamala Harris, reluctantly, albeit. But the reality of the matter is I can't outflank the party. If Kamala Harris is communicating to the broadest base of support that she can, with a multi-billion-dollar, or the billion-dollar campaign, basically, that she stands for $50,000 in tax credits for small businesses, and a continuation of the genocide, a continuation of Biden's horrible legacy, then I can go on my Twitch stream and be like, guys, what you're hearing from Kamala Harris is wrong. She actually is an anti-Zionist. She's principled on this, and she's going to dissect and destroy the Zionist entity piece by piece. But I'd just be a liar at that point, right? And most people would just look at that and go, okay, well, I'm not getting that from her at all. And now I don't even trust you any longer, right? And that's what I always try to stress to people. This idea that we as individuals bear a larger weight, a piece of the responsibility as opposed to the party itself. If the party chooses to communicate what they're about, we can't really outflank them and then lie to one another and lie to ourselves that the party's actually going to, to represent different values. And no matter how hard we do that, most people that are completely outside of our reach, normal people, working class people that turn on the television and remember that there's an election every 4 years, they're going to see a TV ad and they're going to be like, oh, I guess this is what's going on. This is what Kamala Harris is about. It's not exactly enthusing me to go out and vote for her, and they're just going to stay at home. This is very important for Democrats to understand. I try to stress that to them all the time when I talk to them in private meetings, when I talk to them in person on camera, is that you have to have a positive vision, and you have to make your case, because no matter how much harm reduction as a theory is correct, right? Because it is correct. The Democrats are better than the Republican Party. I will never vote for a Republican. I will never tell anyone to vote for a Republican. I will always tell people not to vote for Republicans, which is what I stress throughout the election cycle. Most people don't operate on harm reduction. They want to hear something that they want to vote for, rather than vote against the terrifying nature of the Republican Party. I could talk about this for hours, but that's the short and sweet of it, really.
Because of time, we have to move on to our final question right now.
Oh, okay. A lot of pressure. Make this good.
Okay. Hi, Hasan.
I have to pee really bad, guys. So I'm kind of glad that this is going to go ahead.
It's the monster entity. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's coursing through me.
Your broadcast inspired me to study economics in college, like many of us in this room.
However, I've come to realize most of my coursework assumes a liberal capitalist framework, and I don't know how many more times I can maximize profit function. I was wondering if you had any academic resources that you recommend to study socialist theory for someone kind of disillusioned with the topic.
As far as Marxian Economists goes, I mean, Richard Wolff is one, Yanis Varoufakis is another. They have a lot of work on the subject. There's also, much more dense material out there that's boring that I, as a non-econ major, have not even thought about reading. But it's important to understand capitalism and how it functions. A guy by the name of Karl Marx was obsessed with it and wrote volumes about capitalism. So I don't think that learning econ or studying econ is a bad thing at all. I think it's actually a good thing. It's important to have a decent understanding of it. And I feel like there are some advanced courses in most college campuses that finally allow you to develop a deeper understanding of alternative modes of production or different systems. But yeah, the entry levels are usually going to be just liberal capitalism.